So we will continue our discussion on history. In the previous sessions, we have covered partition of Bengal, and then we have discussed about Swadeshi movement. We have discussed about Surat split, 1909 Indian Council Act. We have also talked about World War One and the militant nationalism during World War One. That is the second phase of militant nationalism. Before that, also a small phase that is during 1908 to 1911. First phase of militant nationalism we have discussed, that is during the time of partition of Bengal. Okay, and then as part of militant nationalism phase 2, we have discussed about Khadar party. Okay, and then we have talked about Home Rule League movement. All those things have done. Now here in this session, I'm going to talk about Gandhi. Okay, so we will start with Gandhian experiences in South Africa, because we have to answer this particular question. There may be question how Gandhian experiences actually helped in the Indian freedom struggle. So that can be a possible question. So the events which happened in South Africa also we need to know to understand Gandhi completely. Okay, so we'll talk about Gandhi in South Africa in this session, and in the next video I'll be talking about arrival of Gandhi, where we will talk about Kheda Satyagraha, Ahmedabad mill strike. Okay, all those things we'll cover in the next session, and we'll continue our discussion. Okay, so here we'll be talking about Gandhi in South Africa. So the possible question will be like this: discuss the impact of Gandhian experiences in South Africa on the Indian freedom struggle. Okay, see, Gandhi was in South Africa from 1892 to 1914. So during these 22 years, Gandhi was in South Africa. So the experience of Gandhi in South Africa is very important when it comes to Indian freedom struggle, and in the next 20 minutes you will understand it completely. So this can be a possible question in mains, and which is a very important topic in itself. You need to know in and out of it, and this session is enough for that. Okay, before that, if you missed out any of the videos that we have done so far in history or in economy, you can go back to this Telegram channel. Okay, Zia Safir. You'll get all the videos over there, and there's my Instagram ID also, so you can get in touch with me. So all the videos are there. So this 22 years is what we are actually going to discuss. And there is a famous saying in South Africa that you gave us Gandhi and we gave you Mahatma. Okay, so again I'm telling you that much importance is there for Gandhian experience in South Africa. Okay, so this 22 years actually you can divide into two phases: 1892 to 1904. So this is actually the first phase, and then 1906 to 1914. So this is the second phase. So the first phase is actually the moderate phase of Gandhian experiences in South Africa. So this is the moderate phase, and this is the extremist phase. So we'll understand in two phases, moderate phase and extremist phase. Just like in the case of Congress, moderate phase means it's all about Gandhian struggles through constitutional means. Okay, so Gandhi used to only following constitutional means, strictly constitutional means. So you'll only see the constitutional mode of struggle during moderate phase, and Gandhi professed loyalty to the British crown and the 3 P's, right? Prayers, petition, and protest. So this is actually the strategy during this phase, moderate phase. And when it comes to extremist phase, it's all about involvement of masses. Okay, and if you look at the outcome, if you look at the result, this phase is of less achievement, or rather no achievement, but extremist phase have seen more achievements. So Gandhi understood that involving masses is very important when it comes to the struggle. Okay, so when he came to India, you can see directly he is following this approach which he practiced during this 1906-1914 time. That is a extremist approach, which is all about involving masses. Okay, so in all these here and here, in both these phases, Gandhi is actually taking up Indian issues. So we'll try to understand what are the major Indian issues that he have taken up over there. Okay, so let's try to understand the Indian issues in South Africa, the category of Indians who were there in South. So South Africa is actually a British colony like India only, and the most important problem there was racial discrimination. Okay, so racial discrimination against the native black was one of the most important problem, or it was a social evil, and Indians were also discriminated. Okay, now the different types of Indians were. So first category is actually Indian traders. So Indian traders, the trading community, even like these Mehman brothers, etc. Gandhi in fact went to South Africa to fight a case for this Mehman brothers. Okay, so these are trading communities. Okay, so the first group was actually the Indian traders. Then we have indentured laborers. Now, what do you mean by indentured laborers? This was actually the last year prelims question. So these are the people who worked in plantation. Now, why they are called as indentured laborers? So these people are working in plantation and in mining. So they came to South Africa on a contract. Okay, so let's say 10 years, 20 years, etc. So these are the people who are called as indentured laborers, who came to work in plantation and mines on a particular contract. Okay, so contract basis, they are there for some number of years. So that's what indentured laborers. Now their conditions is so pathetic, the salary is very low, all these common problems are there. Now after the contract period is over, they have two options. Either they can stay back in South Africa, they can settle in South Africa, or they can come back to India. And those people who stay back in South Africa, they are called as migrant settlers. So these are the three categories of Indians who were there in South Africa. So the three categories: Indian traders, the trading community, then indentured laborers, those who have gone to South Africa upon a contract on working in plantations and in mining, and those who are settled after the contract, they became the migrant settlers. Now, as I told you, the racial discrimination was there everywhere. There are three types of people. Whites, they are the English people, and then colored, they are the Indians, then the black, they are the native South Africans. Okay, so not only the native South African people are facing this racial discrimination, Indians are also subject to racial discrimination. So Gandhi took up this issue. And during this phase, 1892 to 94, as I already told you, this was actually the moderate phase of Gandhi. Only constitutional mode of struggle: prayers, petition, and protest. So during this phase, Gandhi wrote a lot of letters to the British government in South Africa as well as in London. And Gandhi talked about the issues of Indian workers and indentured laborers. But as I told you already, the achievements are not satisfactory during this time. In fact, the Britishers are not even ready to listen to Gandhi. Okay, 1899, something very important is there that you may need to study separately also, related to Boer Wars. Okay, now during this war, it was actually between native South Africans and South African tribes against the English or the British. Okay, and Gandhi actually supported the British during this war. So Gandhi extended support to British Army against the native South African population, and Gandhi formed ambulance corps and providing medical assistance to the British Army. Okay. The war is between native blacks of South Africa and South African tribes against the English. So Gandhi thought that it will actually help to change the mindset of British, and they will favor Indians later. But later Gandhi understood that going with this approach, Indians are not going to get any benefit from the British, and he changed his strategy. That is what we are discussed as extremist phase. That is from 1904 to 1914. So this phase, we will talk about many achievements of Gandhi and many events of Gandhi, and we will also took up the issues Gandhi picked up during this phase, and we'll discuss that. Okay, so you'll see here mostly mass involvement or involvement of masses, involvement of masses. Then you'll see non-violence, but Gandhi break government laws, breaking of government laws, and launching public protest. So this is what the extremist phase. You'll see all these, not strictly constitutional means of struggle. Earlier only constitutional means of struggle, 3 P's: prayers, petition, and protest. Here involvement of masses, non-violence, breaking government laws, launching public protest. Now let's see the issues Gandhi picked up. In 1906, the first issue Gandhi took up was Indians have to compulsorily carry the registration certificate. Okay, so anywhere, anytime, if they go outside, you have to carry the registration certificate. So compulsory carrying of registration certificate by Indian migrant workers all time in South Africa. So this is the first issue. Then in 1908, second issue, we will discuss the first issue after some time. Let me complete the 3 major issues. In 1908, imposition of poll tax upon ex-indentured laborers. So already I told you what I mean by indentured laborers. Ex-indentured laborers means those who completed the contract and settled over there. They are the ex-indentured laborers. What do you mean by poll tax? I'll be explaining now. Okay. The third issue Gandhi took up was in 1912, invalidation of Indian marriages that did not happen according to Christian customs. So these are the 3 issues Gandhi took up. So first one, compulsory carrying of registration certificate, we can write RC, by Indian migrant workers all the time in South Africa. Then imposition of poll tax upon ex-indentured laborers, invalidation of Indian marriages which did not happen according to Christian customs. That means you are not allowed to register marriage if it was not happened according to the Christian customs. It is against the religious freedom of Indians. Okay, we'll come back to all these. So let's start with the first one. See, it is crystal clear that when you are supposed to carry this registration certificate all the time, whenever you go, wherever you go, it's basically to harass the Indians. Okay, so what Gandhi did is, after the completion of the contract, they can settle in any of these provinces. But the Britishers really never wanted Indians to settle there. So what they did is, if you want to settle there, you have to pay a one-time fees of, £3. So this was imposed on ex-indentured laborers to settle in any of these provinces, and this is what the poll tax. So this is what I mean by poll tax. And this is actually, this was very high. This is close to or equal to around 3 months of the salary of those indentured laborers. And why it is done? It is basically done to, to force them to go back to India, okay, or to discourage them to stay in South Africa or to settle in South Africa. So that's about poll tax. Gandhi protested against it. And in fact, once suppose you settled in Natal, here if you settle, for that you have to pay this £3. And in case if you want to, if you feel like migrating to this province after once you settled here, you have to pay the tax again. Okay, so this £3 you have to pay again. So that is actually a controversy, and that was again, to exploit the ex-indentured labor. So Gandhi took up this issue. So Gandhi migrated from Natal to Transversal, and he went without paying taxes. Okay, so without paying poll tax, he migrated, and ultimately British government withdrew this poll tax also. Now the third one is this. Already I've discussed invalidation of Indian marriages that did not happen according to Christian customs. As I've already told you, this is against the religious freedom of Indians, that you are not allowed to register your marriage if you are not married according to Christian customs. And Gandhi took up the issue in India. Even Congress also took up this issue. Okay, so Gopal Krishna Gokhale also generated some support for Gandhi here. So Gandhi organized a mass campaign against it. Okay, and ultimately British withdrew this law also. So what I want to tell you is here, if you see here, discuss the impact of Gandhian experience in South Africa on Indian freedom struggle. Firstly, you can talk about this moderate extremist phase. Okay, you can talk about the achievement. Moderate phase, zero achievement. Extremist phase, good achievement. That is the reason why when he came to India, he directly followed the extremist approach. So he understood that involvement of mass is more significant. So if he was directly doing this in India, he might have taken another 22 years to realize that. But here, already this experience is there in South Africa, so it was easy for him to implement in India. Secondly, you can talk about these issues that we have discussed. Years you need to know, important. Okay, now we will see the significance of Gandhian experience in South Africa. So that also you can write. Okay, so what is the significance? Significance is, firstly, Gandhi firstly understood that you cannot militarily overthrow British. Any violence will not be enough to overthrow British. Okay, why? Because you have seen already in Boer War. Okay, that is between native South African blacks and South African tribes versus British, but it was very difficult and it is impossible for them to overthrow British. So militarily, British very strong, their strategies are strong, so it is impossible. Okay, militarily you cannot overthrow. Secondly, moderate phase, moderate struggles, the strictly constitutional means of struggle, prayers, petition, protest is of no use. Thirdly, he understood that involvement of mass, that is a must, and only through involvement of mass and non-violent peaceful methods that will work against British, and that also improved the political maturity of Gandhi, and he got some respect of Indians also. So all these actually built up a lot of popularity and respect towards Gandhi from India. So by the time he came to India, he already had that respect. So these are the points that you can write there. Militarily you cannot overthrow, moderate phases of no use, involvement of masses is a must, political maturity of Gandhi, respect and popularity of Gandhi. So all these Gandhi achieved during his 22 years in South Africa. Okay, now some other organization that he formed, Natal Indian Congress. Okay, so basically to highlight the plight of Indian workers in South Africa. Then Tolstoy Farm. So during his extremist phase, that is 1906 to 1914, Gandhi and his supporters were staying over here. So these are some other organizations that he formed. It can be asked as a prelims question. So if you have any doubt in any of this discussion, you can get in touch with me. This is my Instagram ID.